Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. Got so used to hearing the Jai, not saying it. No? Saying it good, saying softly, but got so used to hearing it from the room. So I didn't feel to say that we are having satsang, although everything is satsang in a way. But I just felt to keep it a little light and informal, more like a family meeting or something like that. But it depends on what all of you want to do. So, so what do you feel to do? Shall we just play some bhajans and just talk like this? So if there are some super important questions, we can look at them. If we want to keep it light and just enjoy ourselves, we can do that. Light is good. For satsang, we can watch the recordings. Oh, so what happened? What have I been doing for 6 years then? So what? I can be DJ if you like. You can request some songs. I can play something. What do you feel? Satsang. Some say satsang will. Let's start with a bhajan and see what happens. Yeah, we can ask Radha to sing. Come on, start us off. But on mute first.
Want me to start?
Yes, yes.
Is the fan too loud, Father? I don't know. Can you please switch off the fan? I have to sing.
Hmm?
I'm just asking him to switch off the fan just a minute. He's giving me the stare.
Oh,
Sorry. Switch off the fan, please. जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम मन से जप ले तू सीताराम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम मन से जप ले तू सीताराम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम मन से जप ले तू सीताराम जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम
मन से जप ले तू सीताराम, जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम। मन से जप ले तू सीताराम।
Thank you. Very beautiful. Was there more to this? Does it stop there or you forgot the rest?
I don't know more.
That's all there is?
I feel
Okay.
there's more, but I don't know the whole song.
Yeah. You all heard Janvi Harrison? No.
Brother,
Yes. Where are you?
I'm here.
Um,
You want to be like
Atma.
Canadian son?
Can't hear you so well and I can't see you. For a
Okay.
change, I can't find my app. Oh, there she is. Okay, good.
I don't know because my Wi-Fi
Yeah,
is
I see you now.
okay.
You were saying what?
You wanted to hear Genevieve Harrison?
Yes, yes,
Okay, because we're listening to Genevieve Harrison a lot at the moment,
yes, yes.
and I was thinking I could just now to sing Genevieve Harrison.
Of course, of course. Please.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Very nice.
Father,
Hmm.
can I sing a song?
You're supposed to. Yes, there you are. Of course, my dear. Please come.
It's a song that came to me. It goes like this. Every time the wind is blowing, we don't know from where it came. We don't know where it is going. From this birth, the spirit came. Every time I hear you calling, every time I hear your name, Lord, I know I have been chosen to be born again. Now the days are much more clear. Now the truth shines more bright. For now we know the love you showed us. And then we live just by your side.
That's so nice. You compose this?
Yes, this came. I love it.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. Could you play that on the? Let's see if you can guess.
We're gonna sing a blues just to let our thoughts and our mind off, and to talk about our spiritual egos for a little bit.
It will be a long song then, huh?
You may practice yoga with many tools. You may do salutation to the sound I'm doing. But without God's grace upon you, all your time won't be enough to find out the truth. You may sing nice bhajan, you may help the poor, you may swim in the Ganga, have a Buddha in the room. But without God's grace upon you, all your trial won't be enough to find out the truth. We say yes to 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 truth. Yes, we're gonna be the cow that jumps over the moon. Then say yes to truth. Come on, Rush! You may join a Sangha, follow the rules. You may pay mandala and eat veggie food. But without God's grace upon you, all your trying won't be enough to find out the truth. Let's find out the truth. You may wear nice mala, blessed by the Guru. You may clean your chakras every week or two. But without God's grace upon you, all your trying won't be enough to find out the truth. We say yes to 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 truth. Yes, we're gonna be the cow that jumps over the moon. Let's say yes to truth. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare,
Hare Rama,
Hare Rama,
Rama Rama,
Hare Hare,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Yes, we're gonna be the cow that jumps over the moon. We say yes to truth. Come on, Ross. We say yes to truth.
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 Yes, we're gonna be the down that jumps over the moon. We say yes to truth.
Wow. Good.
The screen is not sharing so well. You could see the screen for a bit. Yes. Small.
I could see.
Ah. Ah. A lot of people are asking to share some pointings. I feel like I've forgotten actually. What do we talk about usually? Or what do you want to know?
Can I ask a question, Guruji?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Hi. Hello, everyone. Namaste, Guruji. There are three specific things you pointed to over the last few months. I keep watching your videos and I also visited Bangalore. One is the three rules, that is not a perception, not a mental construct, no expectations. And then open and empty. Open is hello, everything to come. Empty is don't hold on to anything. And then you pointed out something which was, though you said it in different words, one particular thing you pointed out was the difference between evidence of Earth being round and evidence of us being away. Right? The kind of evidence this is. This was actually pretty shocking. The way you presented it, I was like, now where I am at is, let's say something needs to be done. As in, let's say the body needs to do a few Surya Namaskars, right? Now, how does the body do the Surya Namaskars with me being open and empty? Usually, I end up maybe getting identified with it in the sense that only after the Surya Namaskars, I realize that I have to be open and empty, not during the thing. And many activities that the body and mind does, it's not like the body and mind does. It's like I am doing it and then saying that, okay, what is it? And then saying that, it should have been my body and mind doing, but I am doing it. So, and I find that this is closely related to the fact that the awareness of sleep, as in the context of me, because of the context of me, both the doership and the falling asleep are some sort of are linked in some way. As in, I at the moment I just continue, as in I focus on being open and empty. But these two things, whenever there is an activity of a certain kind and the lack of awareness of sleep, am I audible?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So the lack of awareness of sleep. So these are the two. When I think about these two things again, I get back to that the third important rule, that is no expectation. So this confusion comes up, and again I go back to, okay, open and empty, and then continue continue with whatever is happening. So this is where the situation is. Uh, if there is a question, it's like when it comes to, let's say, intense physical activity, how does that happen without the identification of me as a body doing it, or just the body doing it? Like that differentiation is probably not yet clear. Is how I'm looking.
Okay, so you said a lot of beautiful things, and I want to go slowly, and probably you can remind me of the question if I forget
Sure.
what it was as we speak. So you said something very beautiful, and I've been stressing on this point for some time, and I feel like it still manages to escape because to use in worldly terms, it is a bit subtle. So you said, how do we know that the world is round? That is different from how we know that we are awareness.
Yes.
Is it? But it is also different. So how do we know that the world is round or
Uh,
spherical?
perceptual evidence largely
You see, but we
from,
don't know that the world is round through perceptual evidence.
as in photographs are perceptual evidence, right?
Yes. Yes. So if you look at a photograph and somebody tells you
Yes,
that is, then we say
that's
that that is.
yeah.
But even if you didn't have that perceptual evidence,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a great scientist or you had the president of the country coming and telling you that we have discovered that the world is round, then you would still take it to be true based on the credibility. You see?
That's belief, right?
Yes. So if your master comes and tells you that the world is actually round or it is this shape, you will take it to be true
Mm-hmm.
because you take the concept coming from a credible source and you apply the stamp of truth on it with your belief.
Yes.
Everybody with me on this? So it's important to see that the concept in itself is just another concept, but consciousness has the ability to take it to be the truth. And that taking it to be the truth is what is called a belief,
Right.
a conceptual notion. So let me take another one. That this Earth is moving at supersonic speeds.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's
Right.
true, isn't it? It's rotating and it is revolving.
Right.
You see, yet we have not had a perceptual experience of that,
Right.
not even in photos.
Right.
So, and yet we take it to be true, isn't it?
Right.
Because it is a conceptual understanding that we take to be real, we take to be representing reality. So
Right.
that's the first. And the second thing, like you said, is the perception.
Mm-hmm.
We take that which we perceive to be real. In fact, in the world, it is said that seeing is believing. You see? But the basis of Vedanta is that what you see is not to be believed.
Yes.
You see, because every perception, it comes and goes.
Right.
So all this perception, whatever is being perceived, it is not the ultimate truth. It is not the truth. If the quality of the truth
Mm-hmm.
is that it is the eternal one,
Mm-hmm.
it does not uh, come and go. You see, then every perception does not fall into that category of truth. And at least if we use that benchmark of truth,
Mm-hmm.
then all perceptions don't match that benchmark, isn't it?
Yes.
Because everything that you perceive, it comes and goes.
Yes. That which is unchanging is true.
Now, yes, yes. But how do we come to direct knowledge of the unchanging? You see? And that is where this pointer has been given that when you check on whether you are aware, am I aware now?
Mm-hmm.
You have a non experiential experience.
Yes. Yes.
It is apparent to you, but it is not something that you see. And it is not just a concept. You see? When I say, are you aware now? Some of you could be responding conceptually. You see?
Yes.
You could be saying, "Yes, I know the right answer. I've heard this many times. So I am aware." This is true conceptually. But it is not what happens with most of you. You just simply check, and you are aware that you are aware. Now, this is the only non-phenomenal, non-experiential experience that any of us can ever have. And all of us have had it. You see, it is clear actually to all of us. So self-knowledge belongs to all of us already. There is nobody who is unaware of their own awareness. In fact, this notion of somebody and nobody is not there, but that's getting too technical.
Yes.
We won't worry about that for the moment. So this awareness, you see, is empty of all qualities, and yet it is clearer than daylight. Because even if daylight is not there, your eyes are closed. You cannot deny this simple self-awareness. So this is the subtle trick. This is the cow jumping over the moon. Because we are expecting it to be something phenomenal, something perceptual. You're trying to send with all your might your attention to it, saying, if I just look inside, if I look more and more inside, and if I look more and more inside, finally, somewhere deep inside, there is this awareness sitting over there. You see, but it is just not true like that. Because that would also make awareness phenomenal. You see?
Yes.
If it can be covered by a layer of phenomena, then it itself has to be phenomenal, isn't it?
Yes.
You see? So, can phenomena cover something which is non-phenomenal?
No.
It cannot. You see? So, this fallacy of trying, and coming to uh, uh, a sight or a perception of the self is a great fallacy which 99.9% of people are suffering from. Mhm. And that is why I'm happy that when you say that it hit you very strongly, when you recognize that the way that you know awareness is not the way you know any other information in this world. You see? Now, what is the spiritual seeker trying to do? The spiritual seeker is trying to make what is known already like this, let's call it intuitively. What is known intuitively, they are trying to fit it into some perceptual or conceptual box. You see? And that is why the journey seems long. And for many, it seems like for a long time they've been almost there. You see? In fact, most spiritual seekers from the beginning always feel that they're almost there. You see? So, why is it? Because intuitively the sense is clear. You see? Empty of any dependence on perception or concept. Everybody knows themselves. You see? Now, even as I say this, observe yourself. Observe yourselves, all of you, and see how are you trying to confirm that. When I say to you, you know yourself right now, what tools or measures do you have to confirm this?
We can't even go that far, right?
Can't go there. No?
We cannot, as
Very
in,
good. Very good.
we can't
Whatever
even
tool
go.
we want, the tool will be that of perception or intellect. You see? And all of us are waiting to confirm ourselves or waiting to confirm our freedom. But it is not that way. You see? So something, this quantum leap in a way happens. This cow jumping over the moon happens where you realize that my searching for it, as if it is an objective search, gets dropped. And when the searching for it as an objective search gets dropped, you see, the recognition that it is always this becomes so simple and apparent. You see, that's why I used to say, and it irritated everybody very much. When I used to say, what do you know when you know nothing? I used to say, if to know even one thing was to know too much, what is it that you know when you know nothing at all? You see? And that is where words cannot go. It is just too simple for words. It is just too simple to be perceived. It is too broad. It is too immaculate to be an object of our perception. You see? So if you don't go to your perception, and if you don't go to your intellect, what is clear to you?
At this moment, you are.
Say again.
At this moment, I am.
Ah, you see, but if you don't go to your intellect, you don't go to your perception, is there even this moment or the next moment or any moment?
The confusion arises when I conceive of sleep.
See, but
Then
that is
I'm
going to. We'll go there. Don't worry.
okay.
I'll answer all the questions. But for this inquiry, just try to follow what I'm saying. If you don't go to your intellect, and if you don't go to any perception, that means that let them be, whatever's coming up, let it come and go. Then what is it that you still know? What is it that is still clear to you, independent of these tools?
Awareness, which is what I am at the moment.
That's it then. If you are this awareness and that is apparent to you, that's why the third part comes, the third rule which I say is that now if you don't expect anything from this,
Mhm.
you don't expect anything from this, that is freedom. You see, what will happen is that the, the condition that we have about I, the idea that we have about I, you see, the mind wants to attach that with your fresh discovery. But actually, it doesn't mean anything for that I, because that I is the non existent one. So, trying to attach the non existent to the truth is going to be a false game, it's going to be another trick of the mind.
Guruji, the concern of making sure that you are not fooling yourself is also an expectation, right?
Of course, you see, if it is apparent to you that you are this awareness, you see, then is the capacity to fool yourself or not fool yourself there? Who are we
That is
speaking
in the
of?
awareness, right?
You see? So, for you as awareness, what could fool you or not fool you?
That is again a mental construct. Whatever I'm thinking is fooling me or not fooling me.
Because this is the only thing in which you cannot fool yourself actually.
Right.
This is the only thing which all of us actually really, really know. Everything else that we think we know, we don't know.
Because this is before everything else.
We don't even need any explanation for why. We don't need any reasoning at all. You see, in fact, that is the game you have to step out from. Because this whole game of cause and effect, this is because this is not because that. You see, and yet I realize because in communicating, see, because it comes so naturally that we're caught in this communicative sort of mechanism where reason is the primary object of communication. And that's why we keep saying this is why and this is because. And as I'm saying in the same construct. But it is possible for us to spot this construct and not get caught up in it. Suppose you didn't know or have to understand anything at all. Don't even try to understand what's happening to you now. Okay, say something you want.
The only things left are expectations, Guruji. That is the
So let's
doership. Doership
give you
is one
example, right?
expectation. Okay.
About doership.
Okay. And the sleep
So,
is another expectation, because not all activities there is a sense that I am doing. Some activities there is an awareness that the activity is happening in the mind and body. But in some activities, some moments there is an awareness, some moments there is an identification that I am doing it. I mean, if you say, okay, how are you aware that you are getting identified? That's, I mean, again, that means that there is some sort of awareness which is able to narrate this. And the last thing about the sleep
okay, let me
is,
ask you something.
mhm,
Let me ask you something. Who are you trying to help in this conversation?
we are trying to drop the false I, the I which is having all these problems with sleep or with doership. That is the one we are trying to drop.
Ah, but what if I say that instead of trying to drop,
Mhm.
you just don't pick up?
Okay.
Is it? Because otherwise, sometimes we get into this pattern of picking up and then trying to drop. So, open and empty, actually, since you talked about it,
Mhm.
is just letting it go. Don't be concerned with all that comes and goes. Is it? And like you said, you will notice that all that comes to pinch you, all that comes to bite you is expectation. Because the mind will come and say, "Oh, is that it then? Am I done?" You see, but then again, it is the peddler of the false I, the seller of the false identification, which will come and say, pick me up, because I am concerned about you. I am concerned about your freedom. You see? I'm concerned about whether you really got it or you're fooling yourself. You see? This is just mind tricks, just trying to get you by trying to be a friend.
Then it's just be open and empty. That's about it.
You see, but there's the final pointing maybe for you for today.
Mhm.
As long as you're being open and empty, you're not being open and empty.
That
Is it?
should be a natural habit. Again, that's a. It's,
As long as you're being open and empty, like anybody who's trying to just be is not just being. You see? Or anybody who thinks that they are just being is not just being. You see? Anybody who's saying I'm just living in the moment is not living in the moment. You see? So anyone who can say I am just being open and empty, you see, it can be a pointing, but if it becomes a representation of how you're being, then that is still too full. It is not empty.
Can you repeat that last part? It should be a pointing, not should be a representation of.
Correct. So it can be pointing, like we can say to point. If somebody says, "So how do I be free?" The master may say, for example, that just be open and empty, let it come and go. But if you take yourself to be someone who's being open and empty, then you're not empty of the notions of being open and empty.
Same words, but the entire meaning and the context and how we relate to it change.
See? It should be something that chops your head off, in the sense there is nobody doing anything after that. But even that can become like we try to do there is nobody doing. So I feel like you're getting stuck a bit in these kind of things. So don't try to be this way or that way. Just let them both go. Just simply like a child or a bird or a tree, unconcerned with trying to be awareness or trying to be open and empty or trying to not be the doer, because we know so much spirituality. See? So that is the return to your innocence. But if you try to return to your innocence, it is not return to innocence. You just I realize that these words may be very confusing to many, and especially if you're new to satsang. But what I'm saying really is very, very simple. Like you don't have to do anything or not do anything at all. It is not in the realm of doing. It is not even in the realm of understanding. In fact, if you want a way to be in satsang, just get out of my way. Just don't try to understand or perceive what I'm saying. Just all that is just creating roadblocks. I'm doing my job. You don't have to assist it at all. You see? Because when I do get through to you in that way, where you will not understand, because what I'm saying really you cannot understand. Be open and empty by not being open and empty. Who can understand these kind of words? Right? Nobody can understand these words. But there is something that you latch onto this instruction, right, which is subtler than your intellect. It is like your own being coming to a very subtle recognition.
No, I'm just laughing at the fact that I turned a pointing into a context.
Yes. Yes. Nothing, no words, not even the words of satsang can represent the truth, can represent what is. Very good, very good. Okay, I'm just going to pick up the chat from wherever we are. Although it feels that at the moment there is a tremendous showering of grace on this planet, when I'm open and not running in the panic mind, I feel this within the heart, and I'm so grateful. Could you talk about this? Yes. In fact, even last time we spoke a bit about this, given this situation in the world. It is beautiful, fiery grace. I don't want to over romanticize it or something like that. It is strong, strong, super strong grace. But for many, 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 you see, it is making them very open. These kind of questions about the real nature of ourselves. Many who have not had these questions or felt to explore, you see, are now starting to explore. I don't want to again put it in the primitive box of oh yes it's very good or no it is very bad. Mhm. Let's step away from those simplistic definitions of what this is. Mhm. So everything that is phenomenal is very difficult, if not impossible, to define as good and bad or purely good or purely bad because everything is multi-pronged, multicolored. So, but in a way, it is my job to highlight the good aspect of it, which is that there is a great openness which is happening. Even people at work, sometimes they ask me, so what do you share in satsang? They've never asked me before. Mhm. So these kind of things are starting to happen because as we are coming in touch with our mortality, which has always been there, this body has always been mortal, isn't it? So, but it's seeming more real now that it could happen to us at any time. We could catch this. So this grace is making the world a lot more open in some aspects. Of course, there will be parts of the world which are a lot more fearful, a lot more closed. All that will happen because it's not a one-directional stream. This phenomena. But as this openness is coming, as this grace is being recognized, many will come to their true nature, the true recognition of what they are, even using this as an opportunity to flower, flower into this. Then one had said, Father, could you share some pointings with us today? We are sending much love to you and for everyone from Thiru. So much love to you too, my dear. Some pointing we shared. Yes. Beloved Father, the ego wants to be present. It even wants to experience consciousness. Yes. How do we know about the ego's wanting? Let me see if I can unmute you. And while I find you, I'm going to say something which is quite important. I've been saying this to some of the Sangha members on chat and messaging that many times we get into this mode of explaining. This is what the ego wants. Instead of that, it will serve you better if you are just pointing or describing. I wonder if the difference is clear. Like the difference between explaining and the difference between describing is a very critical difference. Provisionally, of course, but it's important at this stage of being in satsang because our explanations are very clouded by our notions of what we think to be true. Our descriptions are uh, more innocent in the sense that when we're describing, we're trying to paint a picture of what is pure perception. I wonder if these words are clear. You see, when we are explaining, usually we're saying, "I know I'm feeling a lot of fear." You see, but you don't actually know. You see? But when you're describing, you may say, "I notice that there is a bit of a contraction in the region of my heart or something like that. And to deal with that, what you perceive purely is much simpler and makes your job and my job a lot simpler. You see, rather than the master having to deal with your interpretation of what you think is happening. And you will find that 90% or more, maybe 99.9% of your problems go away when you move away from explaining to describing. Okay? Because we are lying to ourselves in our explanations. So when you say, for example, I'm sorry, I couldn't find you, but you could type out. When you say the ego wants to be present, what is the description of that? That is your interpretation of something. I want to know what it is an interpretation of. Because to make this statement, for example, the ego wants to be present, did you have a perception of this ego? Nobody has ever perceived this ego. You see, not only is it hard, you say it is hard to explain, it is impossible to explain. Because to say that this is what the ego wants, on what basis are we saying that? It is not even a perceptual basis. Forget intuitive. It is purely conceptual, you see, because the ego is purely conceptual. See, how many are with me as I say these things? Some of you can just nod or just don't nod if you're not understanding what I'm saying, because um, I wonder, because I don't have an audience in front of me, so I don't know whether it's really hitting home somewhere, or because for the intellect they may sound like very intellectual words, but actually they are not intellectual at all. I'm just simply saying that like this. Instead of saying uh, this means that today is the fifth day of the month and I had to do these jobs on the fifth day of the month. You see? Instead of that, if you could simply tell me, oh, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fingers and a lump of flesh which seems to hold these fingers together. You see? Then that makes it much simpler for all of us. Because if you start dealing with what you think about what you're perceiving, then there's no solution to that from there. Because what you think about what you're perceiving is so far from even what you're perceiving that to deal with that problem from that level becomes next to impossible. And somebody is rightly saying two levels of falseness. So we superimpose from the Vedantic perspective, which is that everything that we perceive comes and goes and therefore is untrue. Then we superimpose one more layer on this perception itself, which itself is untrue. We impose a layer on top, which is this is what I think this means, but we can never think what something means. You see? Whatever you think that something, you think it is true about what something means, just really investigate that and you will see what I'm saying. So how to deal with this non-existent problem, that this is what the ego wants to do. And when I'm saying it's a non-existent problem, I'm not putting you down. I'm just saying that your claim that this is how it is based on which basis? What is the basis for this claim? Is it just purely thought? Is it just purely conceptual? Because you cannot even have a perception of this ego. So how can we even say that the ego wants to be present? And in fact, from the present, we can never make this report. So if you're noticing that the ego is there wanting to be present, then we are already not in the present, because to take the ego to be an existent entity, we must start believing in time. Because without a story, there is no ego. And without time, there is no story. I know we're taking very broad strokes here, but that's how it's coming up. I want to just chop it from the root. You see, I want to chop this kind of mentation from the root. So it'd be really nice if, when we are proposing, even to ourselves, that this is our problem, if we can stick to describing and not explaining, then that will be really helpful. And also, the one who is pointing, the speaker who is speaking in satsang, must also uh, describe as much as possible instead of trying to explain, because explanation will just become concepts which sit in your head but don't actually free you in any way. Okay, so we explore this some more and then come back to me. One says, Father, I want to share, there was so much fear when the case happened in the next building. So in this one's case, there was a case of the coronavirus in the next building. I felt this is a chance to accept this fear. But soon after, the more I saw, the more I realized that the word fear is a set of changing sensations and thoughts, and nothing of fear as such. You see, so this is very good, because this is exactly what I'm saying. You see, because when you use a term like fear, we can include that in our story very easily. You see? Like yesterday morning, I was feeling very fearful because this is what happened. You see? But if you don't use that label and you stick with direct perception, then it's next to impossible, not completely impossible, but next to impossible to include that in your story. You see? And if you don't make a story out of it, then like I said, then we are not taking ourselves to be limited, because without a story there is no ego. Like I find it very funny now how we are able to simply make explanations about what's happening to us right now. You see? You may say, I'm getting really bored. I don't understand what this guy is saying. He's too crazy or something. I don't know. If you're being charitable, you may say too abstract or intellectual. If you're being angry, then you could say stupid or mad or crazy. You see? But even this would not be true, because you would just be looking at an aspect or some sensation arising within you. Many times, not even sensation, just the thought which came, which said, you were fine. I've noticed this with people in satsang, you see, that you were just fine. And then the thought comes, I think I'm just getting so bored. You see? And the thought comes and they're just like, this is my reality. I'm getting so bored. You see? So notice these simplistic sort of representations, you see, which are so limiting. Can you define yourself in any way right now? Truly. When you put yourself in a box like that, you see, you're taking yourself to be very, very tiny. This is what's happening to me. Can I tell you what's happening to you? The entire universe is within you. See? And yet you are untouched by even the entire universe. But with your attention and your belief, you can zero in on some tiny vibration, you see, and an interpretation of that vibration and say, this is me. Let yourself be undefined, because you are truly impossible to define. You will not lose anything except this ability to suffer, ability to make false stories about yourself. And you can check along with me. Whatever you think you may be feeling right now, find out in which space that feeling is happening. What contains what? Does the feeling contain your space, or you contain that feeling? And how much of that space is being taken up by this feeling, whatever the feeling may be? So, and this is how we become more of seers, you see, more direct seers. We start to see rather than just take our notions to be true and try to fix our life based on what notions we are taking to be true. You see? Suppose you had a strong belief just now that you grew an extra nose, you see? That you have two noses now on your face. You have a strong belief and you want to solve this problem. You're dedicating your life, of course, to solving this problem, and you're meeting everyone saying, how can I fix this problem? But when you come to just seeing, you will be able to see that there is no such problem. And that which you were calling nose was just a notion that was being presented by the peddler of limitation. Like previously, when the questioner was asking about um taking myself to be the body, you see? Sometimes you can even ask, which body are you talking about? So there's a web of notions around this idea. You see, one of the notions is that, oh, but I experience only the sensations of this body. But we don't actually know that. You see, that's just an explanation that we have believed and we were trained to believe. Anyway, we're probably going too far with this stuff. So one says, I wanted to ask you something about awareness, being, and abstractions. May I ask? Yes, my love. You want to come up? Let me give you the ability to unmute.
Hello, Father. This is Shiv. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I'm just waiting for the people to come. Yeah. Your camera is not on?
Camera, I don't know how. Wait 1 second.
Okay, okay, we can hear you also, whatever you feel.
Yeah, let's start. Hello?
Go ahead, my love. Go ahead. I'm going to. There you are.
Hi, Father. So I wanted to provide some background for the question I'm asking. I was at some point reading about abstractions, and I wanted to know what an abstraction is. And then the understanding I have now is that, I mean, you take a lot of objects and you exclude all the details in which they differ from one another, and then you take one quality which is common to all of them, and that quality becomes the abstraction. Like you say color, there are many objects which have different colors, and you take a few objects which look similar and then you call that the color red.
Yeah.
And while I was reading,
there are various types of abstraction. That is one way to abstract. The way to abstract is also use a term like table.
yes,
You see? There is no such thing as a table.
yes,
There are four pieces of wood, slab of wood. When we use the term table, we are abstracting all of that and dealing with it from the abstractive term. rather than living with that which you just perceive.
I found something similar. I mean, you exclude all the details and then you compress the information to, I mean, you exclude details and find what is similar among them, and that becomes the abstraction, like a table. Anything which is four-legged becomes a table, or it could be a bed also. So there's more abstractions. So while I was reading a book, you mentioned a quote by Shankara, and he said that, and you quoted him saying that there is pot, there is cloth, the pot and cloth can come and go, but the isness doesn't come and go. So similarly, is this being also an abstraction? Because you're excluding all the details in which they are dissimilar, and then you're pinpointing one quality which is common to them all, which is isness. This was my question. And is it similar with awareness also?
In a way, for the sake of explanation, it is like that. For the sake of pointing to that, the, um, but the recognition of this similarity, which is commonality, then can be universally, right? Then when it becomes intuitive insight, move away from just being an intellectual, conceptual abstraction, uh, clearer than any notion can be. I wonder if the words are making sense.
I can hear you, Father. I think I should mute myself.
Okay. So I was saying that unmuted again.
Can you mute me? I don't know how to do this.
So it is true that as to use the term being as a way to point, while we are still understanding with our heads, is to take a commonality which is a universal experience and remove all the parts which are different, like everybody has different shape, size, color, attributes, all of these things. And we go to that which is universal and we use the term like being, or we even point to that which is aware of being. So, but that's as far as the intellect can take us in terms of pointers. But when you come to an insight about this, intuitive insight about this, then it no longer remains just a conceptual abstraction. No longer remains something just as a way to be able to define some commonality or universality amongst it. It becomes like a pure seeing, which is independent of what we may uh, be able to intellectualize or not. What's a good example of this? So we could say, for example, that uh, all living things, you see, are made up of being. So we are then not only doing the human abstraction, we are saying all living things. So, and we say, okay, if you remove the beak and the feather, and you remove the leaves and the branches, and you remove all that which is different across all the species, there's a commonality which can be appealed to, which is their own existence or their beingness or their presence. You see, or their isness, like Shankara in that Shankara's example. So that they are is their commonality. You see? And this is a beautiful way to approach it from the intellect, that we have a commonality with the rest of that which appears in this world, and that is the commonality of existence, of existing in this world. You see? But what I'm making a distinction with is that as you go to an insight which is deeper than perceptual insight and conceptual insight, then you don't have to do this sort of exercise and come with like a formula that, okay, we'll remove all that which is different and focus on that which should be similar, and that which is similar is that they exist. That becomes apparently not perceived but just clear, you see, known. And that is to come to this self-knowledge. to come to this recognition of the truth, as opposed to intellectually being able to abstract and say that this is what unites us. You see, our existence unites us. We can say that very beautifully, but that is still from the level of the mind mostly. Then that what we are intellectualizing becomes tasted, you see, as direct taste. Then that becomes satsang. Then that becomes the sharing of the truths.
Namaste, Father. Hi, Father. Good evening, Father.
So,
I have a question on grace, Father. What I used to, think before is that, grace is, if it's grace of God or grace of the Master, then if one does one's, meditation regularly, satsang, then there is grace and good things happen in the worldly sense and spiritual sense. Later on, what I came to find that, there is grace on everyone, and probably if one is more in the presence or stays more as awareness, then naturally there is grace flowing and there is a certain harmony. At the same time, what about those? Then the question came: what about those people who are not on the path, who are still, very much entrenched in the person? Then I realized that that is also grace, and there is also, like Guruji says, there is also some harmony in that disharmony. But what I'm asking, Father, is that isn't grace also a relative concept? Because ultimately, if one looks at it from the consciousness point of view, there is no grace. So, how would you define grace, Father? How does it work? I do know this, but I want to know it more deeper, and hear it from you. Yeah, thanks, Father.
thank you. So everything, every term, like you said beautifully, that grace is also a sort of relative concept when we look at the absolute consciousness. You see, but even consciousness is a relative as compared to the absolute. You see? So it's a good sort of search as to, can you find a term which is not defining or negating in some way?
Right.
Can't find a term like that.
Right.
So to this innocence of a child, in which a child is just living in grace, as a grown-up would say, but the child does not know that they are living in grace, or need to know.
Right.
He is living in grace. All
Right.
his branches are flowering beautifully. A bird is in grace, but it does not have a notion that I am living or not living in grace. And so much grace is working on me, or more grace should work on me, or any of this is not there.
Right. Right. So there is
So,
all.
because you're
Sorry.
already contemplating in this, because you're looking at this deeply in this way, where you can notice the uh, defining capability of even beautiful terms like grace, you see, then it sounds to me like you're ready to let go of all notions.
Right.
Now,
Right.
don't pick a new conceptual box which will then be able to put a nice framework for awareness, the absolute, then consciousness, then there's grace, there is all these various aspects of the manifest. You see? Don't throw away all of this notional framework.
Right. Thank you,
So,
Father. Because there is no, every word is also, there is no word that is absolute. Every word is relative.
if the absolute was so small that it could be defined in our words, in our vocabulary, in our mind, then that absolute would not be worth it.
Right. Right. Thank you, Father. Father also wanted your blessings for all our health. In fact, why I'm saying this is that, I had some fever and cough, some symptoms from few days. Family doctor said it's, some gas in the stomach, your lungs are very good because you do pranayama and all that. But one more doctor, whose second opinion I took, is actually saying since you travel to Rishikesh for satsang, and there were some foreigners in the satsang hall and all, it's better for you to take a COVID test and all. So I might go for that. So just needed your grace and blessings for all of us at this time, Father.
So, okay, speaking practically from what I can tell, Rishikesh satsang got over quite some time ago, and the incubation period for the virus is 2 weeks. So,
Right.
I don't think that is a possibility. But if you feel like there's any sort of danger or some fear like that in your heart, then get it tested out. But in terms of purely what I've been hearing about this thing and how it works, it doesn't seem like it can last for more than 2 weeks without
Right.
going
Sure,
at full
Father.
force. So it doesn't seem like, because satsang got over more than 3 weeks
Yes,
now.
correct. March 8th was the last day. Yeah.
So it should be fine.
Yeah. Thank you, Father. Just need your blessings and grace.
Full blessing, yeah, and also full blessing to everyone who is afflicted, whose bodies are afflicted by this virus. And I'm very happy to see Hans is with us today as well, and he seems to be recovering very well from this affliction, and may it be so for all who are suffering from this. And
Thank you, Father.
complete blessings, complete prayers for everyone. So I was saying that I'm tracking this a bit closely because my son returned from America on the 14th or 15th, I think 15th.
Mm-hmm.
We've been told that it's advisable for none of us to meet anyone for 2 weeks since he's come. So
Right.
I feel that's over on this Sunday. But as it happens, then we've been putting this sort of lockdown sort of for everyone. So that meeting others may not happen for quite some time now. But I was
Right.
tracking it closely. I understood a bit of this intellectually because we were told this 2 week thing at that time. So that's why it doesn't seem like the Rishikesh
Right.
meeting could have led to anything like that.
Right.
Something very strong would have shown up by now.
Father, Anuj this side.
Hello.
How are you, Father?
Hi, my dear.
But I just want to share something through you to him about
Yes. Yes.
Corona.
Yes, sure. Please go on.
Because we are going through this. We are just going through this. My niece is under surveillance and under doctor's watch in Moradabad in UP. So we are going through very closely to it. And I would like to share with you that 2 days back, there was a press conference done by Mr. Love Agrawal, who is leading this whole coronavirus thing in India from central government. He did
Okay.
a press conference, and he said that there are, if you have symptoms like you were saying, you said just now to Father, if you have symptoms like that, you need not to rush for test. You need
Right.
not to rush for test. You just need to quarantine yourself, and whatever the symptom is, you just take the medicine for that particular symptom. For your
Right.
throat, for your fever, whatever is there. Because
Okay.
they don't have particular medicine for if you are getting positive or negative. If you are negative, then it's great.
Yeah.
If you are positive, my niece is going, she is positive according to the test. But I am
Right.
not believing test also. because she is not having any symptom of the coronavirus.
Okay.
Because she came from France, and she went through the test, and it got positive.
Okay.
So we are going very closely to it, and I would request you not to go for the test. Just quarantine yourself for 14 days and take the medicine for your throat and for your fever, whatever is there,
Yes. Yes.
and then you just take hot liquid as much as possible.
Okay. Yes, I'm taking medicines. Yes.
And you take hot liquid also to
Okay.
clean your throat, and because this virus it cannot survive more than 30 degree or 27-degree temperature.
Okay. Okay.
So if you will keep your throat and your stomach bit hot and
Right.
warm, then it will go itself.
Sure. Sure. Done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
In fact, Father,
Ananta.
one more practical thing that they were saying
all,
is, sorry.
it's all Guruji's and Father's grace. No,
Yes. Yes.
it's all Guruji's and Father's grace. That
Of course.
I'm seriously going very closely to this coronavirus because my niece is there under doctor.
Right. 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 Thank you so much. All the best to your niece. In fact, one practical point for the father, while a lot of people are saying that incubation is 14 days and all, one doctor that I spoke to also said that we don't know too much about the virus as of now. So even if it's 15, 16 day, it is worthwhile to get a checkup. Is one practical fact that they were giving. But it also reminds me of what Guruji said in Rishikesh, that the storms of the mind will come. There'll be some storms after satsang, but have faith and stay as the self, because don't go with the mind. Because so I think this is one of the storms that is there for all of us to just stay with that atmanishta. So, but of course, your grace and Guruji's grace. Thank you so much, Father.
Very beautiful. Very beautiful. And you, Anuj, Amriti, and the little one who's going through this, full blessings, full love, and may my Father's grace, may everything, may all the bodies, may they heal in super quick time. And if that is His will, may it be so. Full prayers for all.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father.
Hello.
Are you wearing masks in the house as well?
Yes, Father. We are going there.
We are wearing masks since she landed in India. Not before that, actually, Father. Before that, we are keeping all the safety precautions.
Good. Just follow the doctor's advice. And
I was wearing this in Rishikesh also, Father.
Acha.
And my son was sitting close to you, Father, in bhajans on 29th Feb.
Ah.
He came in blue shirt to Guruji's.
Yes. I remember him too. Yes.
And he was there in your seat for a long time, Father, until the bhajans were over.
A very sweet boy. Very sweet boy. Very happy.
Hi, Father. Can you hear me?
Hello, my dear.
How are you, Father? Nice to see you.
Well, I can't see you, but good to hear you.
Yeah, Hi. Okay, let me turn on the camera. So actually, I'm in a village, kind of stuck in a village. I would say this is also a blessing. Last Saturday, I came to drop my father-in-law. Me, my wife, my son came here. So then we got stuck here. But it seems it's a blessing because this district don't have any cases. And we have a nice beautiful garden, as you can see. My son can also play a lot, not like in Bangalore. Otherwise, you would have been like quarantined in home only, restricted to
I
home.
still
So
wondering what you're doing outside, but it's good you're in the village. It's okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So good, Father. Great going on. So like when I started listening to you, as usual, my intellectual he raised the hand immediately, but now I don't have
But
any that much energy to ask a question. Uh, I don't know. I mean, these kind of questions are coming and going. So, and there is kind of clarity. There is a lot of confusion. Both are there. So, no, all your grace. Thank you.
sometimes what we think is clarity, maybe, is not really clarity. So maybe this kind of confusion is better than that kind of clarity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not like going behind the clarity also, but it is something like just one day it occurred to me that the distinction you were speaking about, you are always asking me to play in your ground, not in my intellectual ground. So that words become like very clear. I was actually in sleep. Actually, it was a dawn around 6:30. I was almost like waking and sleeping both at the same time. It became clear, and I could not express in words. And after that, that intensity, that clarity slowly kind of receded. I'm not like too much worried about it. It kind of that kind of things are coming, and as you started speaking today, one question suddenly came because you were saying something like when we give up our attempts, then it will be more easy or simple. So I just wanted to ask at that time, like, this may sound like discrimination, but maybe because of my lack of English knowledge, what I want to ask is, if I'm okay to drop all the efforts, then what is the difference between the one who is searching the truth and the one who is not? I mean, this is not to belittle one. I mean, I want to make sure that I'm searching, I am free,
Yeah.
because that one is already dropped because he has not even picked up the effort. So then will I not be the one who is lost? So these kind of questions keeps on coming, Father. I don't know.
I feel like the idea that we are better off because we are searching for a truth
No. Definitely,
is
that
worth
is not
exploring.
the but that's why I told that my words might be interpreted badly because I'm not being able to express correctly in English. That is not the intention. Is not to say that I am searching truth and I am little better off. But my question is simple. Suppose lakhs of people are not searching, so it means that they have not already picking up the effort. So according to your definition, they should be free, right? This is what I wanted to ask. So, so if
But
I
everybody,
give up my effort,
most of the humanity, the human condition, they are searching for what they think is the truth, no, for them. Have you met anyone except the masters who are not searching?
no.
So everybody is searching for their version of the truth. Even the spiritual seeker, they may in fact be much more arrogant about their version of what the truth is. But there's nobody who's not grasping, who's not searching in this life except those who have really come to this simple self recognition.
Thank you, Father. I got the answer. Thanks for clarity. Good. So I don't know how when we will going to come back to Bangalore. I'm working from here only, so we have work from home option. So hopefully we'll come as soon as possible.
Well, where you are seems very beautiful. There's no rush.
Yeah, it's really safe, beautiful, but also my parents are stuck in Bangalore, so worried about them also.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. But thanks for that. Like your 2-3 words make big difference for me. They immediately clarified. Thank you. Thank you. Take care. I mean, no need to tell you take care, but generally speaking, bless us. Thank you.
Then Hans is still there.
I'm here.
Hello. Hello, my
Hello.
dear. Good to see you happy and smiling.
Yes, yes, yes. This is amazing. This is great. Really, really. I'm so happy. Even though yesterday actually I got some feel some coughing coming back, but maybe some headache. But I feel it's more like ordinary flu.
Ordinary.
More like it, yes. So, but I keep staying inside and am very careful with who I meet, and so it's running good.
That's good. So happy.
And thank you for all the blessings I got. I'm so grateful.
Very welcome. In fact, a lot of time over the last few days. Yesterday, I was joking with someone. They said, "Where are you, Father?" And I said, "I'm overworked with all the prayers. I'm making all these prayers for the world, everyone who is afflicted from this, or many are not even afflicted from this, like you were, but afflicted from a fear of it, or some are suffering from fear of isolation, depression."
Yeah.
So I've never worked so much to pray for people as I have in the last week.
Yeah. There are many
Good work.
levels
It's
of
very
suffering.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. You feel so strongly connected with the Master's presence in your heart when these prayers
Yeah.
come. So
Yes.
beautiful. A lot of also some of you have been asking, so I can tell you that a lot of work is going on. You realize that small businesses like the one my wife runs are having some trouble because of this situation. So all of us are working double hard as well, and a lot of video calling, back-to-back calls and things like that. But nice. Overall, it's been quite nice actually.
Good.
It's been good.
Thank you.
So one says, "Father, can you please say something about what you started earlier? We might not be experiencing our body sensations only. We have been taught this. It sounded very tempting." Like there is no real way to say that the sensations that we experience, that which we call my body sensation, we can't really say that this is from the body. Like we've discussed this before, where things like you heard of the phantom limb of somebody whose leg was recently amputated. They continue to feel pain in that leg for quite some time. Also, there's a beautiful on YouTube. You can look for the rubber glove experiment, and I recall us speaking about this in the past, where what happens is that somebody's so they have this plastic hand, and that plastic hand is has been made to wear this rubber glove. But before that, what happens is that your hand is kept some distance away from you, and you also made to wear a rubber glove, and your hand is poked with some pins, and you experience the sensation when you go ouch, ouch. Right? And so what happens is after 5 minutes they stop poking your hand, they start poking the hand which is where your hand is supposed to be, and you still experience those sensations, and you feel like your body is uh, hand is being poked with those pins. So, so there's no real way of saying that this sensation is actually this, like this. All of this sensation is actually coming from this hand. You see? Because in the dream also we experience pain, we experience pleasure, we experience all these sensations. Whose body is experiencing that? There seems to be a body central in that, both in terms of both in terms of the visual perspective and the one story being followed of that body mind. But where is that body actually? It is in the same space of consciousness every other appearance in that dream is. You say that this is just my hand, and it's my hand or my body is too simplistic sort of interpretation of something that we don't really know. And my point of saying all of this is not so that we can conclude, oh, this is all a dream or something like that, but to bring us to a I don't know, you see, which is much more difficult for the intellect and the mind. It hates the I don't know. A lot of deeper insights get revealed to us. You see. So it's almost like we clean up our heads, empty ourselves from all of this notional sort of knowledge. From false knowledge, we go to true knowledge. You see? And this true knowledge is not simplistic in the sense of, oh, it's all a dream, oh, or it's all real. You see, all these distinctions of real and dream also just conceptual. But at best, these are pointers so that we lose our certainty, like I was saying last time. The way to come to true certainty is to first let go of everything that we are certain about. You see? So whatever we think we know about this experience, we have to let go of that. And then we come to that which we have always known, but for some strange play of consciousness, it seems to get obscured in this false knowledge. Nitya posted a YouTube. Shall we play that now, my dear, or what is that for? Oh, the experiment, acha. That you can watch later, all of you can see it. There's a message from Guruji which maybe we'll like to read. Let's see. It's a video message. So let me see if we can.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you, everyone. I am Muji. I've come to talk to you a little bit about the growing concerns about that we're having as the human race itself. Actually, first of all, I want to commend the many beings from all over the world who are working as doctors and nurses and servants to this outbreak of the virus. I know that people are traveling. Some doctors are coming from even from places like Cuba to join the services in the hot points of where the virus is most prevalent at the moment, like in Italy and so on. I want to take this time to really commend and to say thank you, with one voice from all the people in the world, that you are called upon at this moment to be in service in such a profound and global way. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are really giving everything for all of us, and with such generosity, such selflessness, actually, that I'm touched to the core by your love, your compassion, your loyalty to your disciplines, to come in this way, even at great risk to yourselves. Thank you for all of that. Yes, what is pulsating in my entire being today is something that I've never heard of. I think it's unprecedented. I don't think it's ever happened, where the whole world is at home. Only God can do that. The whole world is at home. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what time zone you're in. It doesn't matter today whether you are Muslim or Christian or Hindu, whether you are an atheist or a Buddhist or a Jain or a Rastaman. Doesn't matter at all. We are one. And we are one. We are one, and we must win also. We are one. Today, we are simply human. Today, we are simply human beings. We have to put aside these superficial differences. Today, we have to put aside the superficial differences. There's no time for that. We are one, and we must act together and respect each other, to cooperate, to take on the same one thing that threatens us all. And I see that that is a great thing. It's a great moment for us. We must not fail. Fear is a very powerful agent, but it was not with us from the beginning. It is not fundamental or original to our nature to be afraid. Love is our nature, peace and joy, and an appreciation of what is right, what is good. These are the qualities, the perfume of our true nature. So I see that this time, challenging as it is also offering us a new path. Not a due as in necessarily difficult and strenuous, but a path of grace, a path that only God could have opened for us. Why fear comes is because we have moved away from our central nature. We have been so much impregnated with wrong kind of knowledge, very negative behavior, mindsets, attitudes, and so on. And we don't actually, or really do we have the chance to look at that and to investigate that in a way that could lead to a profound change. It's only in situations like this where we are compelled to pay attention that we stand a chance of really looking more deeply towards ourselves. Mostly our attention in life is on the outward going momentum, going towards the sense objects, going towards things which are momentary in their nature, material things, things to do with our egos, and fear also. Fear is strongly behind that kind of movement. Fear of being without, fear of being disrespected, fear of being abandoned, fear of being bottom end of society, all kinds of things. Fear of being attacked, fear of becoming sick, fear of dying, all these things we have in some way been infused or imbued inside our nature. We don't realize it because it's coming from every direction normally. And so I feel that over time, the human soul has become, I would say, toxic with so much negativity. And now I would say that it is a beautiful opportunity to begin to change or to, what is the word I'll look for now? To wake up is not a bad word. To wake up, to discover what is real about us, what is true, what is here. Because I want to tell you, I feel I have got good news for you, in spite of the way I've started talking like this. It's only because I've got great news to share with you in this respect. And that is that that within you, in your pure nature, which I hope to help and direct you and guide you to discover that, even today, there is a place of real stillness and peace, a depth and a beauty that is far and beyond the world of fearfulness and insecurities and all the ailments that really trouble our species, human beings today. I remember when my own master, my spiritual master, Papaji, was once asked by someone. He said, Papaji, the world seems to be, mankind, he said, it seems to be on a path to self-destruction or something, you know. What must happen? What must man do? And the master responded, he said, mankind must become kind men. That was very, very, it was so powerful to hear that. Mankind must become man. What is kind man? Kind man means to become himself again, to find his real nature, to find his real spirit and being. And where is this real spirit and being? Right here. It is right here in the heart of our existence, in the heart of our being. It is just through somehow bad habits, misconceptions, the junk food, mental junk food, actually, that has in some way misdirected our attention and put us on a path that eventually made us feel alien from the pure strength, the pure stability and solidity of the true life of a human being. What I want to tell you today is that your true nature is not lost. It is not somewhere else in some divine vault away from you. It is right here in the very core of your heart. And I want to tell you something else, that you need not be afraid, because the path of self-discovery is not strenuous, is not difficult. In fact, with a situation being as challenging as it is today, I feel that nature, life, God is offering us an opportunity, actually, to go within. Because mostly our energies has been going outward. It has to go heartward. And the way of that is through some simple guiding will reveal, and I say reveal rather than create. And that should be good news for you, because if I had to say to you that you have to be creative in this, many of you would say, I don't think I have the confidence or the ability to create. But what I'm saying is that what is pure in you is intact already. It only needs to be recognized or discovered again, and you'll find that you are already one with that. What it really amounts to is the loss of this tendency to hemorrhage energy, mean to waste energy pursuing the wind, pursuing things which are of no real value. What I would say to you is that as you discover more and more, you will fall in love with what you are discovering. It will make you much more stable. And that fundamental discovery, I would say, is the most important discovery in the human kingdom. It's not that, it's going to be so strenuous, so heavy, we have to do so many things to change. Actually, this is another thing I want to tell you about grace. That the grace that comes from God, from life, from God, helps us not because we deserve, so to speak, but because God is great. The love of God serves every living being. So grace is here to guide us through difficult times. In one part, I remember now, even from the Bible, in the Psalm of David, I think it's called the Lord's Prayer. He says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadows of death, I will not be afraid of evil, knowing you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." It continues, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." All over the world, particularly in Christendom, we know this prayer. This prayer existed even before the time of Jesus. It's an ancient prayer. Even though it says, "I walk through the valley of the shadows of death," not of death, because in reality, I tell you something that may sound very, very new to you. What you are in reality cannot die. I'm going to say this again. Who and what you are, not personally, because the person we take ourselves to be is simply a mask worn in front of the reality we truly are. And now is a time to discover these things, I want you to know. The guided meditations is really showing you where you are most alive, in the most complete sense, and in an experiential way. I'm not here to share with you beliefs and philosophies, not even scriptures actually, but to guide you in a living way, in an experiential way, that you will come to a discovery and a knowing, and that will bring great peace into your mind and heart, and a great encouragement to all peoples of every time, that you may not be afraid. As I said before, fear has its role, it has its place, but it's been given too much of a central place. And we must have the courage to face what comes. Fear is not attached to this situation. Fear is a response that comes from our not being centered inside our own being. And so I want to guide you to the experience, the knowing of who you really are within yourself. And so I pray from my heart that each one will grow inwardly, that even after this virus that comes under control or is stopped, that even after that moment, we continue to grow inwardly and outwardly, to grow in understanding, and so that we don't take things for granted. We don't go back to what we have transcended. So I'm using the word transcended because I feel this is a moment also in our history where we stand a good chance collectively of transcending the lower energies that we have lived with and to come to a higher level of consciousness, higher level of life in the true sense. And by life, I mean a life of understanding, of gratitude and appreciation, both for your life, the life of your family, the life of your town or village, of your country, of your planet. That we see with more a unitive sense, a harmonious sense, that we are one family, one world, one species, living together with greater understanding, greater love. And listen, we can do it. And we are being given a chance by God through nature to step up. We have a lot of support for this, a lot of encouragement. And bless you, everyone, each and everyone, that because all are brothers and sisters to myself. I love you. Let's grow more and more in this love for each other. That love becomes our climate. Let it be so. And God bless you that this coronavirus will do its work but come to an end. And we will continue to grow as human beings. And indeed, maybe even come to create a very wonderful world. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
So one says, Father Guruji talked about mental junk food. Can you help me go on a diet? Yeah, that's what I'm doing, this open and empty. It fits very well with our example of the sushi on the conveyor belt. There's these restaurants now all over the world where they serve sushi, and you don't have to go anywhere. Just sit at your table, and this conveyor belt will come with sushi. So the mind is just like that. It just comes one thought at a time. It can seem very fast, of course, but as consciousness, nobody can force you to pick it up. See, because first the thought itself will come that I am powerless against these thoughts, or it happens automatically. I'm basically a hostage to these thoughts. I am forced to consume these calories. But it's just not true. That is only after you put on the mask of individuality that all of these things will seem true. But as your being, as consciousness, it is completely within your power to let it all come and go. But remember that even in this pointing, sometimes for the sake of a salad we pick up desserts. In the sense that the thought itself could be very simple, and we may pick up a thought in some anger or some fear or something like that. But when the spiritual identity gets mixed with that, and then that becomes ideas of guilt, and I should not have done that. My master told me not to pick up thoughts. So you end up consuming a lot more thoughts behind chasing a very simple thought. You see. So just moment to moment. Doesn't matter what happened a moment ago. You're empty now. Buzz, time to go. You're going to only play music and have fun. That's what they say. Want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. You play another song before we go. What's the song? You can play this one. Which one was it? Shivani, do you remember which one? There was this song that at one point only you and I had heard. What is that song? House Martin. House Martin. Ah. So much love to all of you. Thank you all for joining this beautiful meeting today and making it so lovely with your presence. Keep shining in this light, keep shining in this love, and remember to spread this to the world. The world has enough negativity, so we don't have to get into any panic, any fear. Share your highs, share your truest, and know that I'm always with you through all of this. Sadhguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai.
Sadhguru Shri Ananta
Ananta
Ji
ji
ki
ki Jai.
Jai.
Guru
Jai.
Ka-